World Religions. Season 1, The Great Traditions. Episode 2, Hinduism. Part of the Thinking Library. Part 1, The Sacred Threshold. The first light of dawn touches the waters of the Ganges. Pilgrims descend ancient stone steps leading to the river's edge. Some carry small offerings of flowers and candles. Others cup the sacred water in their hands and lift it toward the rising sun. Priests chant prayers that have echoed across centuries. Bells ring from nearby temples. Incense drifts through the morning air. To an observer, it may appear to be a simple religious ritual. Yet beneath the surface lies one of humanity's oldest and most complex spiritual traditions. A tradition without a single founder. A tradition without a single sacred text. A tradition so vast that it contains countless philosophies, rituals, stories, and schools of thought while still maintaining a recognizable identity. This is Hinduism. Today, more than 1 billion people identify with Hindu traditions, making Hinduism one of the world's largest religions. Its influence extends far beyond the borders of India, reaching communities throughout Asia, Europe, Africa, North America, and beyond. Yet Hinduism can be difficult to define. Many religions trace their origins to a particular teacher or historical event. Christianity centers upon the life and teachings of Jesus. Islam traces its origins to the revelations received by Muhammad. Buddhism emerged from the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama. Hinduism followed a different path. It developed gradually across thousands of years through the contributions of countless communities, sages, philosophers, poets, and spiritual seekers. The result is not a single stream but an entire river system of ideas. Within Hinduism one finds devotion to personal gods and philosophical discussions about ultimate reality. One encounters elaborate temple rituals alongside meditative practices aimed at transcending the material world. Sacred epics recount heroic battles and divine interventions, while ancient philosophical texts explore questions about consciousness, existence, and the nature of the self. Some Hindus worship Vishnu. Others focus on Shiva. Others devote themselves to the goddess in her many forms. Still others emphasize philosophical inquiry over ritual devotion. This diversity has often puzzled outsiders. How can a tradition contain so many different beliefs and practices while remaining connected? The answer lies partly in Hinduism's remarkable capacity to embrace complexity. Rather than insisting upon a single path, it has often recognized multiple approaches to spiritual understanding. For thousands of years, Hindu thinkers have wrestled with some of humanity's deepest questions. What is the nature of reality? Why do suffering and joy exist? What happens after death? Can the soul achieve liberation from the cycle of birth and rebirth? These questions continue to inspire spiritual exploration today. To understand Hinduism is not merely to study a religion. It is to enter a vast civilization of ideas, symbols, stories, and practices that has helped shape the spiritual imagination of humanity for millennia. The journey begins in the distant past, along the rivers and plains where one of the world's most enduring traditions first emerged. Part 2, Origins and Foundations. The origins of Hinduism stretch so far into the past that they disappear into the mist of prehistory. Unlike many of the world's major religions, Hinduism does not begin with a single founder, a specific revelation, or a clearly identifiable moment of creation. Instead, it emerged gradually through centuries of cultural development, spiritual reflection, and social transformation on the Indian subcontinent. Its roots reach back more than 4,000 years. One of the earliest chapters of this story begins with the civilization of the Indus Valley, one of the great urban cultures of the ancient world. Flourishing between roughly 2600 and 1900 BCE, cities such as Mohenjo-daro and Harappa featured sophisticated planning, trade networks, and complex social organization. Much about this civilization remains mysterious. Its script has not yet been fully deciphered, leaving historians unable to read many of its records directly. Archaeological discoveries, however, reveal religious imagery that some scholars believe may have influenced later Hindu traditions. Seals depicting figures in meditative postures, reverence for animals, and symbols associated with fertility have generated ongoing debate about possible connections. Yet certainty remains elusive. The historical evidence does not allow scholars to draw a straight line between the Indus Valley civilization and later Hinduism. What can be said is that many cultural and religious developments on the Indian subcontinent contributed to the tradition that would eventually become known as Hinduism. Another major influence arrived with the composition of the Vedas. The Vedas are the oldest sacred texts of Hinduism and among the oldest religious writings still studied today. Composed over many centuries, beginning around 1500 BCE, they contain hymns, prayers, rituals, and reflections that reveal the spiritual life of ancient communities. These texts describe a world inhabited by powerful deities associated with natural forces. Agni represented fire. Indra was linked to storms and warfare. Varuna was associated with cosmic order. Religious life centered heavily on ritual offerings performed by priests who sought harmony between humanity and the divine. Over time, however, Hindu thought expanded beyond ritual practice. Philosophers and sages began asking deeper questions about existence itself. What lies behind the changing world? What is the true nature of the self? Is there an ultimate reality beyond the gods described in the earliest hymns? These questions inspired the composition of the Upanishads, philosophical texts that explored profound spiritual ideas. Within them emerged concepts that would become central to Hindu thought. Brahman, the ultimate reality underlying all existence; Atman, the deepest self; Karma, the principle that actions carry consequences; and Samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The centuries that followed witnessed further growth. Epic works such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana introduced narratives that continue to shape Hindu culture today. Philosophical schools developed. New devotional movements emerged. Temples became centers of worship and community life. Rather than replacing what came before, each generation added new layers to an already rich tradition. The result was a religion that evolved continuously while maintaining deep connections to its ancient past. Unlike a tree growing from a single trunk, Hinduism developed more like a vast forest, many roots, many branches, and countless paths woven together across the centuries. Part 3: The Sacred Vision. To understand Hinduism, one must enter a worldview unlike any other. It is a worldview that embraces both unity and diversity, both the visible and the invisible, both the ordinary routines of daily life and the deepest mysteries of existence. At its heart lies a question that has fascinated Hindu thinkers for thousands of years. What is ultimately real? Many Hindu philosophical traditions point toward a concept known as Brahman. Brahman is not easily translated into English. It is often described as the ultimate reality, the infinite source from which all existence emerges and within which all existence ultimately resides. Brahman is not merely a god among other gods. Rather, it is the fundamental reality underlying the entire universe. The ancient sages struggled to describe something they believed transcended ordinary language. Some compared Brahman to an ocean from which all waves arise. Others described it as the eternal truth hidden behind the changing appearances of the world. Closely connected to Brahman is another central concept, Atman. Atman refers to the deepest self, the spiritual essence within every living being. According to many Hindu philosophical schools, the greatest spiritual discovery is the realization that Atman and Brahman are profoundly connected. Beneath differences of status, wealth, nationality, or circumstance lies a deeper spiritual reality shared by all existence. This understanding influences how many Hindus view life itself. Existence is often seen as part of an ongoing cycle known as samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Unlike traditions that describe a single earthly life followed by a final destination, Hinduism generally teaches that the soul journeys through many lifetimes. Birth is not viewed as an absolute beginning, nor death as an absolute end. Instead, life is part of a continuing spiritual journey. The direction of that journey is influenced by karma. Karma is often misunderstood as simple fate or cosmic reward and punishment. In Hindu thought, it is more accurately understood as the principle that actions have consequences. Thoughts, words, and deeds shape future experiences, both in this life and in lives yet to come. Every action contributes to the unfolding story of the soul. Yet Hinduism teaches that the cycle of samsara is not humanity's final destiny. The ultimate goal is moksha, liberation. Moksha refers to freedom from the cycle of rebirth and the realization of one's true spiritual nature. Different Hindu schools describe this liberation in different ways. Some emphasize union with Brahman. Others focus on eternal relationship with a personal deity. Still others describe a state of perfect knowledge and freedom. Adding further richness to Hinduism is its understanding of the divine. Many Hindus worship deities such as Vishnu, Shiva, or Devi, the Divine Mother. To outsiders, this can appear to be polytheism. Yet many Hindu traditions understand these deities as different manifestations or expressions of a deeper ultimate reality. The divine may be encountered through many forms while remaining fundamentally one. As a result, Hinduism accommodates remarkable theological diversity. Mystics, philosophers, devotees, ascetics, householders, and scholars have all found space within its spiritual landscape. Rather than presenting a single path for every person, Hinduism often recognizes that individuals may approach truth through different journeys, practices, and experiences. The destination may be sacred, but the paths leading toward it are many. Part 4: Living the Tradition. For most Hindus, religion is not confined to a weekly gathering or a designated holy day. It is woven into daily life. A prayer offered at sunrise. A lamp lit before a household shrine. A festival celebrated with family and neighbors. A pilgrimage undertaken in devotion. These practices transform philosophical ideas into lived experience, connecting individuals to traditions that have been passed from generation to generation. One of the most visible aspects of Hindu life is worship, often known as puja. Puja can take place in a grand temple filled with worshippers, or in the quiet corner of a family home. Offerings of flowers, fruit, incense, water, and light are presented before sacred images. Prayers are recited, hymns are sung, and moments of reflection invite worshippers into a relationship with the divine. For many Hindus, these sacred images are not merely artistic representations. They serve as focal points through which the presence of the divine may be approached and honored. Temples occupy a special place within Hindu communities. Across India and throughout the world, temples function as centers of worship, learning, celebration, and social connection. Their architecture often reflects profound spiritual symbolism. Towering structures, intricate carvings, and sacred sanctuaries are designed to guide worshippers from the ordinary world toward contemplation of deeper realities. Yet Hindu spirituality extends far beyond temple walls. The home itself is frequently regarded as a sacred space. Many families maintain household shrines where daily prayers and offerings are performed. Children often learn religious stories, values, and rituals from parents and grandparents long before they receive formal religious instruction. Festivals bring Hindu beliefs vividly to life. Among the most widely celebrated is Diwali, the Festival of Lights, which symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness and hope over despair. Homes and public spaces are illuminated with lamps and decorations as families gather in celebration. Other festivals honor particular deities, commemorate sacred events, or mark seasonal transitions. Throughout the year, these observances create a rhythm that links religious devotion with community life. Pilgrimage also plays a significant role. Millions travel to sacred rivers, temples, mountains, and holy cities. Among the most revered destinations is the city of Varanasi, situated along the Ganges River. Many Hindus believe that visiting such places strengthens spiritual awareness and deepens their connection to the divine. Ethical living forms another essential dimension of practice. Hindu teachings often emphasize truthfulness, self-discipline, compassion, generosity, respect for life, and fulfillment of one's responsibilities. While interpretations differ among communities and philosophical schools, spiritual growth is generally understood to involve both inner transformation and outward conduct. Many Hindus also engage in forms of yoga and meditation. Although yoga has become a global phenomenon, its roots lie within India's spiritual traditions. Historically, yoga referred not merely to physical exercises but to disciplines intended to cultivate concentration, self-knowledge, and spiritual realization. Taken together, these practices reveal a central feature of Hinduism. It is not simply a system of beliefs. It is a way of life. Through worship, family traditions, festivals, pilgrimage, ethical conduct, and spiritual discipline, Hinduism seeks to bring the sacred into everyday experience, allowing the search for ultimate truth to unfold within the ordinary moments of human life. Part 5, Through Trial and Transformation. The story of Hinduism is not one of uninterrupted continuity. It is a story of adaptation, debate, renewal, and survival across thousands of years of social, political, and cultural change. Few religious traditions have endured for such a long period while maintaining both continuity and diversity. Throughout its history, Hinduism has encountered new ideas, foreign influences, competing philosophies, and dramatic social transformations. Yet rather than existing as a fixed system, it has often responded through reinterpretation and evolution. One of the earliest challenges emerged from within India itself. Around the 6th century BCE, new religious and philosophical movements began questioning aspects of established Vedic traditions. Among the most influential were Buddhism and Jainism, both of which challenged certain ritual practices and offered alternative paths to spiritual liberation. These movements attracted large numbers of followers and stimulated intense intellectual discussion. Rather than disappearing, Hindu traditions responded creatively. Philosophers developed new interpretations of sacred texts. Religious thinkers refined theological concepts. Devotional movements expanded opportunities for spiritual participation beyond traditional priestly rituals. The result was not decline but transformation. Centuries later, India experienced new encounters through trade, migration, and conquest. Islamic rulers established powerful kingdoms and empires across much of the subcontinent. These interactions sometimes produced conflict, but they also generated cultural exchange. Architecture, music, literature, and spirituality reflected influences from multiple traditions. During this period, the Bhakti movement gained remarkable momentum. Bhakti emphasized personal devotion to God expressed through prayer, song, poetry, and love. Saints and poets traveled throughout India teaching that sincere devotion was available to people regardless of social status or formal education. Their message resonated widely. The movement helped shape Hindu spirituality in ways that remain influential today. The colonial era introduced another profound challenge. Beginning in the 18th century, growing British control over India transformed political institutions, education, economics, and social structures. Western scholars, missionaries, and administrators often interpreted Hindu traditions through unfamiliar frameworks, sometimes criticizing practices they did not fully understand. In response, Hindu thinkers launched movements of reform and renewal. Figures such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy sought to address social issues while preserving important spiritual principles. Others emphasized the philosophical depth of Hindu teachings and presented them to international audiences. Among the most influential voices was Swami Vivekananda, whose appearance at the 1893 World's Parliament of Religions introduced many Western audiences to Hindu philosophy and spirituality. The 20th century brought further change. India's independence, rapid urbanization, technological development, globalization, and migration carried Hindu traditions far beyond their historical homeland. Today, Hindu communities flourish across North America, Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. At the same time, modern Hindus continue to grapple with questions facing many religious traditions. How should ancient teachings be applied in contemporary society? How can traditions be preserved while adapting to changing circumstances? What aspects of the past should be maintained, and what aspects should be reconsidered? The answers vary across communities and individuals. Yet through centuries of challenge and change, Hinduism has demonstrated a remarkable capacity for renewal. Its history reveals a tradition that has survived not by remaining unchanged, but by continually engaging new realities while remaining connected to some of its oldest spiritual foundations. Part 6: Footprints on Civilization. The influence of Hinduism extends far beyond the temples, rivers, and sacred cities of India. For more than 3,000 years, Hindu ideas, stories, art forms, and philosophies have helped shape one of the world's most enduring civilizations. Their impact can be seen not only in religious life but also in literature, architecture, music, political thought, education, and the global conversation about spirituality itself. One of Hinduism's greatest contributions has been its vast literary tradition. The sacred texts of Hinduism constitute one of humanity's richest collections of religious and philosophical writing. The Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, and epics such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana have influenced generations of thinkers, poets, artists, and spiritual seekers. Within the Mahabharata lies the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most widely studied religious texts in the world. Its exploration of duty, morality, action, and spiritual wisdom continues to inspire readers from many religious and philosophical backgrounds. Hinduism has also profoundly influenced art and architecture. Across India stand magnificent temples whose design reflects centuries of theological reflection and artistic achievement. Their sculptures, carvings, and sacred imagery communicate spiritual ideas through stone and space. These structures are not merely places of worship. They are expressions of a civilization's understanding of the divine. Music and dance likewise became vehicles for spiritual expression. Classical Indian traditions often developed in close relationship with religious practice. Sacred narratives inspired performances that preserved cultural memory while conveying devotion and philosophical insight. The influence of Hindu thought extends deeply into philosophy. Questions concerning consciousness, selfhood, reality, ethics, and liberation have occupied Hindu thinkers for millennia. Various schools of Hindu philosophy develop sophisticated systems of reasoning that continue to attract scholarly attention today. In the modern era, Hindu concepts have increasingly entered global discussions. Yoga provides perhaps the most visible example. Originally developed as a spiritual discipline aimed at self-realization and liberation, yoga has become a worldwide phenomenon practiced by millions. While many contemporary forms emphasize physical health and well-being, their historical roots remain connected to broader Hindu spiritual traditions. Meditation has followed a similar path. Practices once associated primarily with religious seekers have gained international recognition through psychology, healthcare, education, and personal development. Hindu influence also played a significant role in shaping modern India's identity. Leaders of social reform, independence movements, and cultural renewal often drew inspiration from Hindu concepts and values while seeking to address contemporary challenges. Among the most influential figures was Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi's commitment to non-violence drew upon multiple influences, including Hindu teachings concerning truth, self-discipline, and respect for life. His example would later inspire civil rights and social justice movements around the world. Yet perhaps Hinduism's most enduring legacy lies in its willingness to explore life's deepest questions from multiple perspectives. Its traditions have encouraged reflection on the nature of reality, the purpose of existence, the meaning of suffering, and the possibility of spiritual liberation. Across centuries and continents, these questions continue to resonate. Whether encountered through philosophy, literature, yoga, meditation, art, or religious devotion, Hinduism has contributed significantly to humanity's collective search for wisdom. Its influence remains not only a part of India's story but also a part of the wider story of human civilization itself. Part 7: The Search Continues. Across the vast span of human history, few traditions have accompanied humanity for as long as Hinduism. Empires have risen and fallen. Languages have evolved. Kingdoms have disappeared. Entire civilizations have transformed beyond recognition. Yet through these changes, Hinduism has continued to ask questions that remain as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. What is the true nature of the self? Why do suffering and joy exist? What responsibilities accompany human life? Is there a reality beyond the changing world we experience every day? The enduring appeal of Hinduism lies partly in its willingness to engage these questions from multiple directions. Some seek answers through devotion. Others through philosophy. Some through meditation. Others through service, ethical living, or disciplined spiritual practice. Rather than insisting upon a single approach, Hinduism has often recognized the diversity of human temperaments and experiences. Its spiritual landscape contains room for contemplation and action, faith and inquiry, ritual and reflection. This flexibility has helped the tradition endure across centuries of cultural and historical change. At the same time, Hinduism offers a vision of existence that places humanity within a much larger cosmic story. Life is not viewed as an isolated event but as part of an ongoing journey. Actions matter because they shape character and destiny. Relationships matter because all beings participate in a deeper interconnected reality. Spiritual growth matters because it brings individuals closer to understanding their true nature. Whether one accepts these teachings as religious truths or studies them as philosophical ideas, they have influenced countless lives across generations. Hinduism's significance extends beyond its population or geographic reach. It represents one of humanity's most sustained efforts to explore consciousness, morality, existence, and the possibility of transcendence. Its scriptures, rituals, philosophies, and cultural expressions preserve centuries of reflection on what it means to live a meaningful life. In a world increasingly shaped by rapid technological change, many of the questions that occupied ancient Hindu sages remain unresolved. Who are we beneath our social identities? What constitutes genuine fulfillment? Can lasting peace be found amid constant change? How should individuals balance personal desires with responsibilities to others? These are not uniquely Hindu questions. They are human questions. For billions of people, Hinduism has provided a framework through which such questions can be explored. For others, it offers a window into one of the world's most influential spiritual traditions and one of the oldest continuously evolving religious civilizations in history. Its story continues to unfold. New generations interpret ancient teachings in new circumstances. Sacred traditions adapt while preserving continuity with the past. The search for wisdom that began thousands of years ago remains active today. And somewhere between history and hope, ritual and reason, another chapter of humanity's search for meaning finds its place upon the shelves of the thinking library.